our country is collapsing, and the asymmetrical warfare is Cloward and Piven, not just dirty bombs. That's all I would add. That it's meant to implode the counties, the cities, so they can come in with a Marshall Plan to federally stabilize the Southwest and other areas that will collapse under the millions that are now coming. This is only the primer, the detonator. This whole global advertisement of the kids coming here and that they get to be at resort-like conditions. And that all the big Baptist churches and Catholic churches are getting federal money, $6,000 a month, up to $7,000 a month, to warehouse groups of 3 in private homes. So it works on a bunch of fronts. It's a wealth transfer, it's a scam, it's organized crime. Now, we're joined, again, by the filmmaker who is making the new documentary, BackToTheBorder.com. Chris Burgard, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Well, you heard my little 5-minute breakdown there and playing that clip of the interview you did for your film that's coming up. You've been all over the border and have seen even more than my reporters. Give us your breakdown, sir, as a journalist, on exactly what's happening.
Well, Alex, we've been doing this 9 years now, and I thought that we had told the whole story when we did Border and released that back in 2007. But when I see kids used for profit, I'm a dad. I can't stand that. Whether it's profit by the drug cartels or the politicians, I couldn't just sit back. I mean, the federal government can't tell me that they didn't know that children were being used on the border, because I filmed it in 2005 and I showed Congress in 2007. Michael Chertoff even commented on it.
That's right. It was a big scandal that the mules are using the kids, and they're even getting U.S. kids to go down there to become mules, and they're getting killed.
Yeah, well, the cartels have been recruiting in the United States for a while, because if you're a suburban kid that doesn't fit the typical tattooed Hispanic gangbanger cliche, then they can do a lot more with you. But we filmed in 2005 the arrest of a group of kids, and because it takes longer to process them and Border Patrol's there, while they're tied up, they hit the fence in 9 other areas. I mean, it's a business model that works. And what you're seeing now on the border, this is something that cartel sources have been saying they've been working on for 2 years, since DACA first came through. They knew that it gave them a loophole. If you're 17, you come on in, and after 72 hours, you're no longer held by Customs and Border Patrol. You're transferred to Health and Human Services under the Organization of Refugee Resettlement. So what they do is they've been recruiting folks to come up here, because what you're not seeing at the border is everybody, or on the mainstream cameras, is everybody else that's coming in where you're not looking. Places like Falfurrias, Texas, or Sonoyta, Arizona. This is a plan. This is a disaster by design. I mean, the drug cartels are multi-billion-dollar businesses. They're going to do what they need to do to make a profit. It's just really sad to see that enforcement on the border in the last 9 years, I've seen it degraded to the point that it's just worse. It's not better.
And, of course, your film shows the dead bodies of little 3- and 4-year-old Mexican and Latin American children. The mass graves are just everywhere. Tens of thousands have been dug up. Who knows what else is out there? They're being fed on by the cartels, by the coyotes. But then Robert Rodriguez puts Don Johnson in a cowboy hat and says they're all being killed by Don Johnson.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that movie. But, yeah, we have pictures of... Let's go back to Falfurrias County, Texas. 9 years ago, we had pictures of the deaths that were occurring on the ranches around there. Mrs. Vickers has a ranch down there with her husband, Doc Vickers. Her dogs come up to her. They think she gets out of the house in the morning. She thinks they want to play ball. They drop this white object at her feet, and it's not a ball, but it's a human skull from a woman that had been murdered hundreds of yards from their front door. That's the reality it's living down there. Now, I filmed that was 9 years ago. You would think things are better. Going back down there a few weeks ago, they've had over 250 dead folks within 15 minutes of their front door, just in the last 2 years. That's not better. That's
so there's
worse.
road warrior level barbarism, and now it's coming across the border. Stay there. I want to get a report from the man who's been an eyewitness for 9 years. And this using kids has been going on a while. And again, they're just the front. Border crossings across the border just exploding. And they're legalizing criminals. They're legalizing violent felons and turning them loose. So the kids is just the big front, ladies and gentlemen. Zach Taylor's coming up, chairman of border security expert of the National Association of Former Border Patrol Officers that warned of the asymmetrical warfare, and our guest will ride shotgun with us. We're going to go back to our guest here in a moment, but first I wanted to read to you a few comments in the story about Obama signing an executive order to lock up anybody that's got a cough, basically. And one of the commenters said, you can punch up my screen if you want, if you are homeless, you get detained. If you have a cough, you get detained. If you let your kid play in the park, you get detained. Do you see what this is going? And he goes on to say we have no rights. But Bob Smith says, but if you're an illegal alien, you don't get detained. And the next guy says, no, you do get detained in a luxury resort and then free airfare to the destination, your chosen destination. And then you get a driver's license, you get to vote, you get free welfare. I mean, this is just totally insane. Going back again to the filmmaker, sir, this is only like a 5-6 minute segment, so I want you to have the floor and break it down. How much worse is the border now than it was? I mean, clearly it's basically not there from what we've seen. And then what comes next? Because if this flood is already huge and then they're advertising, come here, everything's free, it'll bring an even bigger flood. I mean, how bad do you think this will get? And what do you think the master plan by Obama and the Ford Foundation is?
Well, let me speak to what I know. Yeah, I was in Honduras during the regime change. I was down there filming, and I've had experience with folks that are down there in the campesinos. As long as they think this surge is going to keep continuing, as long as they think they can get here, and as long as their relatives are coming north and they're staying north, and until you see a C-130 landing in downtown Tagusa Airport with folks being reunited with their countrymen, they're going to keep coming north. So this is going to be here for a while. Let me tell you what I can speak to facts, what I filmed over the last 9 years. There is a concerted effort that billions of dollars are spent to control, to create the illusion of border security instead of actually securing the border. And there's been an effort that I've experienced firsthand to keep America from knowing who's coming across the border when they actually know. Let me go back to a couple of years ago. Let's go back to Alferius, Texas. When friends of mine were getting Chinese nationals apprehended on their ranches, I go to Border Patrol under President Obama and I say, can you tell me how many Chinese apprehensions you're getting down here? And they're like, sir, we can only tell you the total number of apprehensions in the top 5 countries of origin. China's not in that, so we can't speak to anything about Chinese nationals. However, on those same ranches, our U.S. government has built rescue stations with languages in English, Spanish, and Mandarin. So the entire time they're keeping guys like me from bringing the truth to America, they're spending money to deal with what's coming over. And it's not just Chinese. On the Vickers Ranch, they had a Coyote Scout that dropped an Urdu dictionary. He's bringing a group of 12 across. The group of 12 got in. Now he doesn't have an Urdu dictionary to deal with folks that speak English. These are folks that are coming from either Pakistan or Afghanistan, and they're getting into the country, and it's happening on a regular basis. So what's the next step? I hope it's not a terrorist attack inside our borders with somebody that came from across the border, but it's not just folks coming from Mexico looking for work. That's what they want you to believe, but that's not what's going on. And so my question is, why does the Obama administration do this? Clearly, they don't want America to know what's going on the border, because if they knew how many people are dying down there, if they knew how horribly they're dying, if they knew that Americans, their fellow Americans, can't even go feed their horses without taking a semi-automatic rifle with them, that ranch wives aren't safe on their ranch unless they're surrounded by protection, America wouldn't put up with it. No one would be talking immigration if they knew how insecure the border is.
Well, that's right. Or if they lived in Texas or they'd been to Mexico lately. I mean, Mexico is scary. It is a failed road warrior hell state in the north, especially in the central areas, and they just have no idea. They're so gullible. Americans Just have no idea. I want to come back, sir, with you and the senior Border Patrol guy to break down what this asymmetrical warfare spells and what the next shoe to drop is. Stay with us, Infowars.com.
We're on